if I can help them realize how fortunate they are to be able to do what they're doing, not have to rely on somebody else and help you get up and ready for the day, to inspire them to fulfill their purpose and reach their destiny, to live the life that God destined for them to live, not to be in the house bedridden, paralyzed from fear, anxiety. Live life, because we're not promised tomorrow.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Audacious Faith podcast, where we believe that we should have the audacity to believe in our hearts that God put us on this earth not just to exist, but to make a huge difference in the world around us. And I'm hoping that that includes you who are watching this today. We have the opportunity here to connect with some people that God has just done amazing things through their life. And today is another one of those episodes. I'm very excited about what we're going to share, and I have a great guest with me, someone who I met recently. I heard a little bit about her story, and I saw her on another podcast, and we were connected together. And I can't wait just to kind of dive in here and get a little bit more of it for each one of you. And I know that not only are you going to be blessed by this today, but also there's going to be people in your lives that are going to be inspired as well. So we encourage you not only to subscribe right away to this podcast, but also to share this particular episode from whatever platform that you're on right now with people that you know will be blessed by it as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Victoria. Okay, she sent me a bio. I'm going to go ahead and read a lot of this because it's awesome here. Victoria Allen, she is a force of tenacity, positivity, and light, a motivational speaker who defied the odds after facing paralysis at age 19 and has proved in life that circumstances do not define your destiny. Through resilience and unwavering determination, she transformed adversity into triumph, becoming an influential speaker and motivator who inspires others to reclaim their power, embrace happiness, and find peace in the face of challenges. As you'll hear today, Victoria believes that the greatest barriers in life are often the ones that we place on ourselves. She challenges others to break free from self-imposed limits, step into their full potential, and design a life without boundaries. She does this with deep compassion, understanding, connects with people on a profound level, guiding them to release fear, rewrite their stories, and create a future driven by possibility, freedom, and true freedom. Her core message, health is the greatest wealth, I love that, and paralysis exists in the mind, resonates across all ages from middle school students to adults. By sharing her journey of overcoming a devastating spinal cord injury, leaving her an incomplete quadriplegic. Victoria ignites a renewed sense of resilience and empowerment in everyone she reaches. And she's also a successful entrepreneur, and she lives this every day of her life. She's built a business founded on God's principles of healing, helping others take control of their health while creating financial freedom. And she's empowering individuals to do that with that knowledge and with that opportunity. So, really looking forward to hearing more today as we go ahead and share together. So, Victoria, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it, and let's kind of share a little bit about your story. I know I kind of read some of it in the bio right now, but tell us kind of, I mean, what was life like early? What were some of the goals that you had, and how did that kind of change? And I know you had to work through some things to where God's brought you today. So maybe kind of go with the leading of the Lord here on this.
Well, before I had the accident, I kind of had my whole life planned out. I was going to college. I was going to graduate with a degree and take over the family business
Mm,
and continue my dad's legacy. He had a wallpaper business for 26 years,
Okay.
And I knew that there was going to come a time when he couldn't do it anymore. And I started working in the seventh grade, and I learned from the ground up everything, every part of the business I had to learn. So that was what my goal was, what I wanted to do, but it didn't quite happen that way. So um I had to find a different purpose, and it's different than I ever thought, but I'm enjoying it and excited to see where God's guiding me next.
So you're laying out something that's probably a familiar story to a lot of people, Victoria, and that is we make plans, right? And we think, okay, this is the way it's going to be. It seemed to be laid out for you there. There was a family business already established, and you were learning at a very, I mean, it seems like you were applying yourself at a very young age. Most seventh graders were too busy just thinking about that particular day and what they wanted to do. So that's very admirable. And yet, despite all of this, everything just kind of abruptly changed. So you mentioned an accident. You want to kind of fill in a little bit about what just suddenly changed very quickly for you?
I was driving an 81 citation X11. And you know, when you're buying a used car, it has this sticker on the window that tells it's checked off what has been safety checked.
Yes.
Well, all the boxes were checked off. So I had my boyfriend back then do the test drive.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was in the car with him, but I just trusted his judgment better than mine.
Right.
So he took it on the test drive and didn't seem to have any problems.
Mm.
Well, after all the paperwork was signed and I drove it home, I started noticing I was having a hard time getting it to downshift into second gear. So when I got to his place, I asked him to take a look at it, and he said it was fine. I just needed to get used to it.
Mm.
So the entire week I had the car, I had problems with it off and on, and I didn't know if it was just me or if it was the car. So it was a Friday night. We were going into town to go cruising,
Hmm.
and I left about 5 minutes before he did. And I was going into a 25 mile an hour corner. I went to downshift. It wouldn't take second gear. I tried again. It wouldn't take. I tried third. There was no luck. And I hit the gravel on the side of the road. I hit a tree, and
Mm.
the whiplash motion broke my neck. The third vertebrae slid over the fourth, taking the spinal cord with it. The higher you damage your spinal cord, the more damage that's done to the body. Doctors told my family that I would be nothing more than a head attached to a body, not able to move or feel below the level of injury.
Mm.
Well, by the grace of God, he had other plans.
Wow. So you kind of knew it was going, and so this was not an automatic transmission. This was a manual.
Right.
I'm remembering those days. I used to love that. But yeah, I can imagine that if it's not shifting, that does create a problem.
Yeah.
And so you sensed it, but we're told, well, you just got to learn how to work the shift better, basically, is what was
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. It wasn't something that I was used to driving. I was always driving an automatic.
Yeah.
He taught me how to drive a stick, so
Mm.
I knew how to do it. Did I have years of practice? No, I didn't. But it wasn't that was the problem. It was General Motors used faulty metals in their second gear shifter for it,
Yeah.
and the metal that was in the transition fluid, transmission fluid, um, looked like it had been there since day one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, it was an 81 and I had the accident in 87.
So it probably had never been changed. And I do remember those cars. They were kind of,
Well,
yeah,
we found out through discovery there were three previous owners to that car, and they all traded it in because they had the same problems with it. They would get that shifter fork replaced, but all they General Motors did was send out notices saying replace it. Well, all they were doing is getting another shifter fork, putting it in there, but it was still made with the same faulty metals. So it was not, taking care of the problem. It was just a quick fix until the next time.
it sounds like a lot of people's lives where it doesn't take care of the actual issue. They just keep changing it out for another issue. And that's kind of, sweeping things under the rug, which was happening there. And then
Right?
unfortunately, I mean, it ended up being something that became major alteration to your life. So how did you handle, I mean, here you had all these plans and now, I mean, you're given pretty devastating news. Were you a person of faith at that time in your life?
I was 19.
Hmm.
I was born again, and I had a relationship with God, and
Okay,
that was important to me. And I knew that with faith, anything is possible.
sure.
Now, was I always making the best choices? Probably not. But God and I had talks about that and
Hmm.
long discussions on, you know, sorry, God, and I won't do it again. But how many times do we tell God we're sorry and we won't do it again?
Sure. Sure. So this was, as a young person, um, I'm just curious. I mean, now you're going through this major life change, uncertainty that's there. Obviously, faith was there. What were some of the ranges of emotions that maybe you were dealing with I mean, I realize this is a while back now, but I'm sure it's vivid enough where you remember. Was there like some real battles and some swings as far as some of these emotions you had to deal with?
I thought that God had caused the accident because I was backslidden.
Mm,
And I thought, it was a wake up call to me,
okay.
because I wasn't listening. Well, thankfully, years down the road through a prophetic word, I was told that what the enemy caused for harm, God turned it around for his glory, and I get to reap the benefit.
Yeah.
So that the accident was not caused because he was angry with me, but um, I had such a sense of relief, and I don't know why I'm gonna cry. I just thought that, I was doing something really bad, and it was my wake up call. And I was like, really, God, did it have to be this bad? I
Hmm.
mean, not to be able to use my fingers and to have limited mobility in my arms. And back then, I wasn't feeling anything. My entire body was kind of like, when your arms or your legs fall asleep,
Hmm.
that tingling motion or
Yeah.
that sensation. My entire body from my neck to my toes was just tingling, and that's how it felt.
Wow.
And it takes like 6 weeks to come out of spinal shock.
Hmm.
And that's a whole awakening of getting reacquainted with your body again.
Yeah.
And everything doesn't come back all at once, and it doesn't come back complete. It's bits and pieces of the puzzle. I can feel here, but at 2 inches lower, I can't feel. 3 inches below that, I can feel. And, it just was sporadic. And I was like, what is going on? So
Yeah.
as my body became more and more alive, I was more in tune with it and aware of it.
Mm.
And when doctors say, well, you're really in tune with your body. And I'm like, yes, I am. I mean, I'm with me 24/7. So every little thing I notice.
Yeah. So it was a really kind of a process. I understand what you're saying. I'm sure people can connect with that tingly feeling to have that everywhere. I mean, it must, even if you're trying to sleep, you must have been feeling that. And it was,
That's all it was. Just my body was asleep. Like
Mhm.
it felt like the circulation had been cut off to my entire body. And there wasn't anything I can do. I was so weak after the accident, even just a sheet on top of me,
Uh-huh.
I could not move my arms enough to get the sheet pulled down. I
Mm.
couldn't do it. And I had to regain all of that all over again.
You mentioned about the feeling of feeling punished. And I know that there's a lot of people, I mean, obviously not necessarily always to this extreme, but things that have happened where they feel this must be a punishment. I think that's an understanding that we've had about God and the way He works in our life that I'm not sure where we got it from, but I know it's common. And this God of grace that we know, I mean, obviously, He has His standards and He has ways of allowing things in life or working things together. But too often, I think we've had, I know I've done it, where I've felt certain things that have gone wrong as some type of punishment. And then later I realized, God's not necessarily working that way. He's so gracious to begin with. Even our salvation is, I mean, if He was basing everything on merit and punishment, we'd all be in some serious trouble, every single one of us. So, when did, so you said it was years. You lived with that for years until you realized that wasn't the case.
Yeah, because let's see, my son was probably 2 years old.
Uh-huh.
And so he was born in uh 96.
Okay.
And so that word came over in 98. So, 11 years later, and I'm hearing this,
Mhm.
it was such a liberating feeling. Um, and I stopped beating myself up because of that.
That must have felt great to stop beating yourself up over that, I'm sure. Let me ask you this. You mentioned in that context that you then came to realize that it was something that God did allow, yes, and it was meant for harm by the evil one, but God meant it for good. So, how is that? Because you're doing a lot of things now and impacting a lot of people. I mentioned in the bio a lot of the things that you've been able to be involved in. How does this experience really become part of who you are in the sense that now you're able to inspire others no matter what it is that they're facing as challenges in their life? How has God taken this and really turned it in many ways for something very good?
Um, for me, if I can help one person, and it doesn't matter if I know them, if I'm just meeting them in passing, if I can help them realize how fortunate they are to be able to do what they're doing,
Mm,
not have to rely on somebody else to come and help you get up and ready for the day.
yeah.
I mean, to inspire them to fulfill their purpose and reach their destiny, to live the life that God destined for them to live,
Mm,
not to be in the house, bedridden, paralyzed, from fear, anxiety, any phobias, addictions. It's just live life because we're not promised tomorrow. And everything that I procrastinated on and said, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I didn't get that chance.
Mm.
Tomorrow didn't come for me. It came a very different way and not a way I had ever anticipated.
Yeah. And a lot of people are kind of stuck, even though there's opportunities that are there. Um, a lot of ungratefulness. I mean, you're mentioning that where there's a lot of we hear it so much. Oh, this isn't right, and if this isn't right, and if only I could do this, and um, also I don't want to play on words necessarily, but you're talking about people that don't move forward, procrastinate. A lot of people have something called like analysis paralysis, don't they? They just kind of keep thinking about not taking advantage of the opportunities that they have every single day to take a step forward and to do something big. Is that something you kind of wish more people would do and kind of try to inspire people?
Yes, because I'm like, you can have your whole life planned out. You can have what there's kind of a joke that says, want to make God laugh, tell him what your plans are.
Right.
Because that's just not how it works out. And I was telling God what my plans were, not what his were.
Hmm.
And God showed me, nope, it's not going to work that way. And I always tell people to be open in the journey that God is leading them on because it's going to be very different from what they've anticipated for their life, but
Hmm.
it's going to be um, the way that God wants it to be, and to empower people to know that life can turn on a dime
Sure.
and live life with no regrets because um, we don't get do-overs.
So you're saying that Jeremiah 29:11, very famous verse, doesn't say, "I know the plans you have for you." God saying, "I know the plans I have for you" is a little bit different, right?
Yep.
And often those plans will put us in places that we never would have expected, but then when we see impact or we see change that happens in a person's life or through something that we're doing, I think we often can realize that if God had not allowed what He allowed, we would not be in that particular place to do that at that moment. So, Victoria, what are some of the big things that you're seeing? What are some of the things that are exciting you the most about what God is doing now?
Well, he's opening doors for me to be a guest speaker on. I cannot even believe I've been on at least 15, if not more, podcasts just this year. And
Great.
that's all. It just been. I asked my friend. I said, "Was it last year and this year?" And she said, "No, just this year. You've
Mm,
done them all." And I collaborated on a book with 10 other authors called Still We Rise. And that inspired me to go ahead and do the memoir. And I literally had that written in a month.
hmm.
It took me 4 months to get it just right, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm revising that one more time.
Okay.
It's never too late. It was prophesied 27 years ago that I was going to do it, and I'm finally doing it.
So you just touched on something I think I'm going to add to what you're saying. So it's never too late until it's too late, right? So the answer would be if God's got something in your heart that you've been putting off and is giving the opportunity. Now is the time, right? Maybe that's why somebody is even watching this podcast right at this moment, because they're being inspired by your story and they're realizing, hey, wait a minute, what have I been waiting for? There are things that I need to do. Often it's because we don't know how to do it, but allude for me to the sense that God will give you, you don't necessarily have to know and feel completely 100% humanly capable. But as we take those steps forward, God will actually allow and open up those opportunities. You've mentioned a ton of podcasts here, just in the last year. I mean, we're talking about not a long period of time, just in the last year, a collaboration on a book, another book that's just about to come out very, very soon. A lot compressed right into 1 year. Okay, which makes you think, wow, what is next year going to bring, right?
Exactly.
So that gives us purpose. I mean, there's obviously for every believer out there, I mean, that's why we're still here. Your accident could have been more serious. Your accident could have just taken you out completely. But God obviously has had plans for you to do through these years and continuing to do, correct?
Correct.
So, so beyond the memoir and all that, when do you think that's going to be coming out?
I'm hoping I can get it published by Christmas or the beginning of next month.
Awesome, awesome. And then you're going to have that available. What about the other book and how is it that people, because I'm sure there's many that are being inspired by what they're hearing from you. How do they connect with you?
I am on Facebook, TikTok. I give you all of those names, and we can let the viewers know what those are. But I'm on all the social media platforms pretty much.
Awesome.
And the book Still Be Rise, you can purchase that on Amazon.
Great.
And I'm hoping my book will be, I'm aiming for global, but I know I have to start off baby steps, but for sure, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, some of the major ones.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, if you're going to get me, you'll get me those links and we'll make sure that as we get this posted on platforms that we have some of those links to connect and for people to definitely, reach out to you. I'm sure you respond quickly, which is great. And then we encourage people to do that. So let me ask this. What do you anticipate coming up in the next year besides what you just said? And then what's the most pressing message that God is putting in your heart right now for other people that might be listening to this?
What I am looking forward to the next year, more podcasts, another book, and whatever else God, puts in my path. I am open to it, and one day, maybe possibly my own podcast, but we'll see. Um, but what I would hope that viewers would take from this is don't waste time because time is precious
Hmm.
and time is also something we can't go back and regain. Once time has passed, it's gone. It keeps moving forward, it doesn't go backwards. And make the most of your time, whether it's being a good person, accomplishing the things, setting goals, getting those accomplished, and living the life that God destined you to live and leaving a legacy behind that you're proud of. Because I know that's important to me.
Big time, big time. And everyone has the opportunity, no matter where they are in life, to be able to do that and take advantage of today, the day that the Lord has made and given us another day, right? So, Victoria, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. Appreciate you sharing your story so very much. I'm looking forward to having people connect and maybe to hear some of the stories of things that they're doing as a result of hearing your story as well. So, God bless you. We're looking forward to more in the future. And if you've been watching this podcast today, I hope you've been inspired. Don't wait. Today, what is in front of you? What is that opportunity? What is that next step you're supposed to take? Don't wait. Doesn't matter if you even know how to do it. If God's saying do it, just start taking those steps and He'll fill in the blanks. So, also, please share, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode with others and the podcast with others so that they too can be inspired. This has been the Audacious Faith Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, God bless.